as my friend Wendy would say, there's something going on in Green Bay. We got to keep watching Green Bay.
Okay, so this is what we said yesterday, Schefty, when you were kind of intimating. I love this. When you were saying trying to work out a deal, my response when we were on the show was, this is easy to get done. We don't have to try anything. Yeah. One of the better head coaches, this is what the good head coaches get paid. We make this simple.
Caller, which is
and so if we're trying, I will say this. If Green Bay and Matt LaFleur decide that it's not going to work out, the first step I would do is then call Matt LaFleur if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I would jump at the opportunity to hire him. Then I would figure out the way to get Malik Willis as my quarterback. And then I'm all of a sudden in a situation where Pittsburgh now becomes a little bit more relevant because it fits that quarterback void that they have. So I would agree with that. Now let's live in a world because, one, the Pittsburgh Steelers, you give them the benefit of the doubt, right? They've done a good job with this. But they've done it twice in the last, I think, 30-something years. Both of them were defensive-minded head coaches that were young and a little bit under the radar. If that's what the organization wants to do again, I like the Flores, I like Salah, I like Minter. Two other names, Matt Burke, who's the defensive coordinator of the team that just destroyed them, I do think is another name that could just come out of nowhere. Ajiro Evero, who's a defensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers, who every time you walk out of a meeting with him, you're like, that guy is
and has done a lot with little.
Epitome
to Burke, who's getting to coach the Monstars.
Superstars, but epitome of a head coach. So it does come down to a little bit of a philosophy organization-wise.
I've actually enjoyed just watching y'all talk and listening.
Throwing out theories.
There's two things. Dan, you hit the nail on the head. There is a problem in Green Bay. And Schefter, fight me if you want to, because sometimes we go through this in all season.
Right.
I don't know one great player or one great coach that organizations don't get their deals done unless it's something going on beyond getting the deal done. When we talked about the Michael Parsons deal, it was way more than just football. Because when you look at the results and you look at what he's done, like you said, this should have been very easy to get Matt LaFleur done. First of all, if you regard Matt LaFleur like we regard him, or like most of the league regard him, you wouldn't let him get in this last year of the contract. Now, I know there's a way that Green Bay does business, and they don't pay coaches the inordinate amount of money, but this is 2026 now, and you got to pay coaches an inordinate amount of money when they're really good at what they do. All right, so that's one thing. The other thing is this. D.O., the Pittsburgh Matt LaFleur and Malik Willis thing would be a godsend. Because we really all believe that Malik Willis is on the uptick and being one of those guys that eventually can be a really good starter in this league based on what we've seen him do in his role with Matt LaFleur when Jordan Love hasn't been available. And I go back to something y'all said about hiring the defensive guys. This is a completely different league then. It was a completely different league. The league was based on defense. It was based on running the football and being able to defend and stop the run. You think about the teams that Mike Tomlin inherited, those were line of scrimmage physical football teams that won games. And obviously we remember the passes to Plexico and we remember the passes to all of these guys. But ultimately the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know this because I was playing in Dallas at the time, the Pittsburgh Steelers was built at the line of scrimmage. That is the identity that they wanted, and Mike Tomlin fit that as well as anybody with how he thought about the game of football. It's different now. It's an offensive league. And I know it's crazy to say that after what we saw Houston and what we see in Seattle do, but you got to be able to put points on the board. And I think the Matt LaFleur thing is great. One last name, and I'm going to throw it out there because we're having fun on this show.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I know that he just signed a new contract. Signetti out of Indiana.
Oh.
I think his personality would fit with Pittsburgh. Now, I'm not sure how all of that business part goes, but what I've watched this dude do with a university that was absolutely not even thought of potentially ever winning a national championship in this landscape of college football, and the rapport that he has as a head coach and what he's done with this team, I think would make him a very enticing hire, especially with a franchise that loves stability.
There's a lot I want to get to here. I don't even know where to start. We'll start with Curt Cignetti. His name has come up a bunch of times. People have pushed the name. I have not heard an NFL team yet talk about approaching Curt Cignetti. That doesn't mean it can't happen, but I have not heard that be an active option for a team. As for the Steelers and their tradition and history, you're right. They've gone defense the last couple of times. I think Bill Cowher was defense and special teams when they hired him.
And special
and
teams,
obviously,
yeah.
Mike Tomlin was defense, right? And so it is a new day and age, and the NFL today is different than the NFL was some 20 years ago when Mike Tomlin was coming up through the coaching ranks. So if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to go young, I could see them shifting their focus to go on the offensive side, which brings us back to the curious case of one Matt LaFleur and why it's lingered. You touched on a very important topic there, Big Swagu, and you said, why has it gone on this long with him heading into the last year of his contract? And I think the reason is because they changed presidents last summer, and they now have a man, Ed Policy, running the organization. And when you speak to people around the league, they believe he wants to put his mark on the organization, whatever that mark is, whether that's signing Matt LaFleur to an extension or taking the organization in a different direction. I would think we'll know here before the end of the week the mark that he does plan to put on this organization. But it really belongs to him and what he decides to do here, because it should not be a difficult deal to work out. And here we are into Tuesday afternoon. Like, they've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
And nothing's gotten worked
hours.
out yet. And they still might. They were talking before that, Laura.
Oh.
They still might work it out. They still might figure it out. But they haven't yet. And we'll see if they can get something done. And if not, to your point, Matt LaFleur vaults up the leaderboard, and all of a sudden we have a whole host of coaches available that nobody ever would have thought would have been available when the season ended.
Yeah. Harbaugh, LaFleur, Flores. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay,
Geographically follow.
so listen.
Harbaugh,
Yeah. New on NFL Live as we continue to cover our top story today, Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti on whether Mike Tomlin is a candidate for his team's head coaching vacancy.
Holy Mike, wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job. Wow, wouldn't that be interesting? I don't know, that thing last week maybe disqualified him for my opening after our kicker missed a kick to let them advance. Good for Mike.
You can tell his skin's crawling as he's talking about it.
Our kicker missed a kick to let them advance.
Yeah.
You didn't beat us.
Yeah, exactly. There was some shade there. I love it. Jeremy Fowler joining us now. Jeremy, what more can you tell us about what you know about what's next for Mike Tomlin?
Yeah, so I've talked to a source close to Mike Tomlin, and really for the last couple weeks, Tomlin's trying to figuring out, do I just need a break? Do I need rest? I don't sense right now that the motivation is I need to go get another job. I need to go coach the Dolphins or whatever job is open. I really believe he's going to reset, take some time away, and he's going to be fielding TV offers. There will be several. He is incredibly engaging. He's going to have the opportunity to go and be a studio guy and make a lot of money doing that. That's my expectation right now based on what I'm hearing from people close to Mike Tomlin. Now, this carousel has been crazy with 9 jobs open, and others would love to have Mike Tomlin. So could things get a little wacky? I'm not certainly taking that off the table. I just don't expect that right now.
Okay, interesting.
I think he was burned out, really.
Yeah, and you don't blame him. 19 seasons, all that. We just threw something out with Mina's suggestion. Maybe if things aren't working out with the Packers and Matt LaFleur, does Matt LaFleur kind of launch into the top candidate for the Steelers? Dan then brings up a great point about Malik Willis. This is just for people at home that might have missed our last block. Malik Willis being with Matt LaFleur on the Steelers team. I want to go back there. Dan, if they get Willis, are they an instant contender and they've got Matt LaFleur as their head coach? This is all hypothetical, but it's fun. We can do this.
Yeah,
Willis
plus anyone.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
good point. Right.
Him regardless.
Yes, an instant contender within the division, absolutely, because there are question marks elsewhere. We don't know what's going to happen with Cleveland. We don't know what's going to happen with Baltimore. Obviously, Lamar and a ton of talent are there, but there's these dominoes that are going to have to fall. And so if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I was thinking about this when the news broke today, and I was going back to when this organization started with Ben Roethlisberger, and it wasn't this 3 or 4 year stretch of them being a bad football team and they had a top 3 pick and all of a sudden they figured it out. They were in a 2-year stretch, won the division, I think in 2002, won the division in 2003, and then in 2004, or maybe it was 2000 and 2001. And then in 2003, they were 5-11 or something like that. They took Ben Roethlisberger in 2004 draft. They won the division, I believe, in 2004 and went 15-1. So this could be a quicker fix when it comes to success than people think. They have to get the right quarterback.
think the question is, if you get the right quarterback, who's the right coach to shepherd that quarterback? And if it's a young quarterback, to me, that changes the picture a little bit. I think that's part of the reason why Mike Tomlin is no longer the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As great as he is, as wonderful as he'll be for someone else, I don't know if he's the guy I personally would want if I had a young quarterback. Yeah. So who is that guy? Like, are there any head coaching? I mentioned LaFleur, who's obviously has a great track record now. Is there anyone else you think that the league looks at as being like, this is a guy we'd love to pair with a young quarterback?
Ooh, so it's fascinating because the offensive pool, this carousel, is not considered great. It's considered defensive heavy. The Steelers have always leaned on those assertive, big presence defensive guys. But, Dio, you know this. Things are changing, and you saw Shanahan the other day in that San Fran game. You need somebody who's going to be great schematically, week to week, depending on the opponent. So I believe the Steelers will depart from maybe the pass plan and look at those offensive options. I look at like Nate Shieldhouse in L.A., like somebody up and coming who's not going to cost a lot. The Steelers they're not going to spend $20 million on a coach here. They're going to probably find somebody up and coming. I think
would they spend $20 million on Matt LaFleur?
That's who Matt LaFleur was when, years ago. Right. He was the McVay tree guy.
Yeah, they take pride in finding somebody who's kind of down in the rough a little bit.
Really, the pressure is on Omar Khan. Like, that's the name that everybody should be paying attention to. We've talked about this team and how they've drafted. They brought in pieces. They've tried to work through free agency. They found, y'all, we only a year removed or 2 years removed from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields being on the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. This has been an abject failure at trying to figure out what the future of your franchise is going to be at that position. They've been taking shots. It just hasn't worked out. So the general manager now is under the most amount of pressure. It won't be fire Tomlin. It'll be fire Khan if they don't get this going right within a year or two of this organization.
And it's kind of what we illustrated off the top of the show. They've been a victim of Tomlin's own success, right? They've never been in position to really draft a quarterback to change things around, but something's going to have to give. Certainly, we'll keep an eye on what happens. We're at the beginning of the week. This coaching carousel has been crazy. Dan, give me one thing you think is going to happen in it by the end of this week.
I love predictions. Harbaugh to the Packers, LaFleur to the Steelers, Flores to the Ravens, Stefanski to the Giants.
Ooh. That's crazy. Mina?
I think John Harbaugh is the shoe that has to drop for the rest of the NFL to move. So I think that is probably going to be the first hire we hear about, or it's going to have to happen before a lot of others do.
All right, Swag.
I'm going to try to get Mike Tomlin to come do Monday Night Countdown on Sunday in Foxborough.
Let's go. All right. Listen, we're waiting to hear what TV he's going to do. Come on, Tomlin. We're a lot of fun. We're not on Monday Countdown Live. Marcus is NFL Live.
Does he want to stay for January 19th NFL Live?
Hit your mess.
Hey, well, it does. We'll wait and see what he does.
Mike T want to be in the stadium. He still want to be close to the game. He needs to be
in the environment. He does deserve a ton of credit. Congratulations to Mike Tomlin for 19 seasons with the Steelers. We'll see what he does next, and we'll see you tomorrow on NFL Live.